Good morning, team. It's Tuesday. You know what that means. We're here together in English, talking through all the immigration news headlines of the week, answering your live questions, sharing an action tip, something you can do to get more involved civically during these immigration crackdown times. One common refrain that I get from people is, I don't know what to do. This is making me sick to my stomach and I don't know what to do. And that's part of what we aim to address with these shows. Also, I want to help you guys interpret all the headlines that are coming at you on your news feed and your social media. Sometimes the media gets it wrong. Sometimes the headlines are sensationalized and it's hard. It's difficult to keep up. And that's my full-time job, is to keep up with all this stuff. And I take some time here with you on Tuesdays and Thursdays to help share it with you. We're here as a reminder on Tuesdays in English, and then on Thursdays, same time, same content, but in Spanish. Well, the content ends up being a little bit different because we're taking live questions, but same theme, same topic. And also as a reminder, a couple more things to know. My law firm, Lincoln-Goldfinch Law, is an immigration law firm. We do all types of family-based immigration, humanitarian, removal defense, deportation defense, including detained cases. We also provide free consultations. And my number one tip for immigrants right now is that you have a relationship with an immigration lawyer already in place before anything happens. So I urge you to please reach out to me. You can DM me to get your free legal consultation. We are based in Austin, Texas, but we do virtual consults and we can represent people all over the 50 United States. So if you have not yet done your immigration consultation, please reach out. Another reminder, I am currently running for office in Texas House of Representatives, District 50. It's Northeast Austin, but if elected, I will help work for all Texans. I am obviously very focused on the security of immigrant families, mixed status families, our LGBTQIA community, women's right to choose, the crackdown on public education, the crackdown on higher education. These are all things that I will be laser focused on if I get elected. The primary is March 3rd in the Democratic primary. So I'm working on the campaign. I could use your support. If you are interested in supporting my campaign, just go to klg4texas.com and you can sign up to volunteer. You don't have to be local. You can volunteer to phone bank or send text messages to voters if you're not local. Okay, those are all of your intro messages. Let's talk about the news of the week. As per the usual, we have a ton. The first is about the family reunification program cancellation. Now, this is one of those that you might have seen a headline about and been like, I don't know what that program is, but that sounds really bad. So let me tell you what this is. There was a family reunification program during the Biden administration, and this was an aim to allow people to reunite with their relatives abroad without going through the asylum process. I think this was actually a very smart and good program because it alleviated some of the pressure on the asylum system. So countries like Colombia, Cuba, Haiti, Ecuador, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, these countries we were able to do family reunifications, and people were able to come in on parole to reunite with their family members instead of having to like trek to the border and ask for asylum if they were afraid of staying in their home country. So lots of people came in under that family reunification program. Well, no surprise, Trump has decided that that program was unlawful because it was opened under Biden, has decided to cancel it, and is probably going to go after everybody who's currently in that program. So the timeline is that the program, I think the program ends on December 15th. We have a published regulation. And then by January 15th, a month later, that's when they'll start going after folks. So needless to say, anybody who entered on the family reunification program who has not already consulted with a lawyer, does not already have a plan B option, you need to do that immediately because it's already past December 15th. It's already December 16th. December is such a like mind twist, isn't it? Like, how is it already December 16th? We are too close to Christmas. I don't know about y'all, but I do not have all my Christmas shopping done. And anyway, back to the family reunification program, the cancellation has already occurred. So that means that we really need to get you guys, if you're on that program and you don't have something else pending, into a Plan B program. Okay, that's family reunification. Next, the raids that occurred in Chicago resulted in mass arrests of people, many of them without probable cause. A federal court ordered the release on bond of all the several hundred people who were detained in the Chicago crackdown. Unfortunately, an appeals court has paused the release of those folks. That doesn't super surprise me. You know, I think a court takes it really seriously when they just make a blanket order to release people, because for obvious reasons, if a judge orders somebody released and that person down the line commits a crime, then it comes back on the judge. So I imagine that they want to be really cautious and careful about that. Nonetheless, we know that these arrests occurred without probable cause in violation of people's constitutional rights. And so my opinion is that these folks do need to be released, but that's the current status of that case. The appeal is blocking the release of the Chicago detained folks. Next, in a court filing, ICE has admitted that hundreds of immigrant children were held beyond the recommended limit. No surprise there. There's something called the Fronteras Settlement Agreement. It's from the late 90s. This governs when and how and for how long children can be detained in federal custody. So it sets forth standards of detention for children, that they need to be held in the least restrictive setting possible. They need to be released to relatives as quickly as possible, etc. That agreement has been really, really important and instrumental over the last few decades when it comes to detaining children. I've been working on this since I was in law school with the Hutto Detention Center, and that Florida Settlement Agreement was what allowed my professor Barbara Hines and the ACLU to obtain improved conditions for the kiddos at Hutto. They were held in they were being held in prison cells with the bars on the doors, close the bar, and they were, not allowed to leave their cells for 12 hours a day because they had count. Like little kids. Moms couldn't access formula for their babies who weren't breastfed. They weren't allowed to take toys in their cells. I mean, horrific. And then that lawsuit resulted in improved conditions. And that was kind of eerie after the fact because they would paint murals of smiling broccoli on the lunchroom of the jail. You know, it was like they took the settlement agreement and they tried to turn a jail into a daycare, which was weird. Like I remember even at Hutto for a little while, they had field trips. So there's a family detention center and they would take the kids on field trips and the parents would have to stay in jail and the buses would pull up and the kids would like come out of the detention center, like past the barbed wire, and they go to like Chuck E. Cheese for the day. These like, you know, Guatemalan Central American kids with these prison guards. And then they'd come back from their field trip. That's so creepy and weird. And then Obama ended family detention. It's been a whole saga. Obama ended family detention, brought it back in 2014, which was not cool. But there's a whole lot to say there. Then, you know, then of course, family detention is back in the worse than it's ever been. And basically the Flores agreement governs the detention of children, and it has been ignored by the Trump administration. They have revealed in a court filing. Oh, big surprise. They're holding kids longer than they ought to under a government agreement. But at least it's coming out in a court filing. Next. Judge Boasberg has filed a contempt hearing against DHS, Kristi Noem, DHS, for the way that they deported all those Venezuelan guys to El Salvador, despite the court order. You might remember that those planes were like flying, even though the judge said don't deport them to El Salvador. And now there's a contempt lawsuit pending. It is ongoing, and I think the latest is we're waiting for something in January on the contempt hearing. As an aside, the House had their annual like state of, I think it's called foreign threats, where they had the Secretary of Homeland Security come in and testify before Congress. This was just a regular annual hearing that occurs, and Kristi Noem got completely grilled by Congress. And if you want to listen to some satisfying audio, I recommend you listen to Kristi Noem getting like things like, Secretary Noem, has DHS deported any citizens or veterans? No, they have not. Oh, here is a veteran who is in their home country after deportation. Let's have them testify. Like that kind of satisfying gotchas against her, because of course she was lying. Next, saving the best for last. This is the penultimate news item. Go ahead and get your questions started. I'm about to start answering your live questions. No DACA updates before you ask me. We don't have any yet. I know we want them. I want them as badly as you do. We have none right now. Nothing final on Texas. There was a cool Texas Tribune article in which my law professor, Denise Gilman, was quoted about all of the habeas petitions that have been filed federally and that are flooding the federal court system to get immigrants out of court, because, of course, the immigration court is being crazy and they've decided that they're not going to release majority of the immigrants who entered the country without a visa. That there's been some back and forth on that case law, but another outlet, another solution that many lawyers, including at my firm, have done is that we've filed these federal habeas petitions so that if the immigration court system won't entertain bond, we'll just file a federal lawsuit. And those are being, by and large, very, very successful nationwide. Like 90% of the habeas cases that are being filed in federal court are resulting in the federal judge ordering the release. And that just goes to show you how illegal all of the stuff that the immigration court is doing. Like, oh, okay, let's go over to an Article 3 court and see what they happen to say about this. And 90% of them say, this is illegal. You must let this person out. I don't know if that 90% figure is right. I'm going on, out of 700, I think like 808 judges. Anyway, I don't want to give you statistics because I don't have them clear in my brain, but it's the vast majority of habeas petitions are being approved by federal judges. Finally, We are in a surveillance era. You guys know this. There is, Palantir software. There's a really interesting New York Times Daily. I always hate pitching the Daily because I feel like New York Times is like not impressing me lately. But today's Daily is an interview with the CEO and basically the founder of Palantir. Palantir is this big, creepy, mysterious software. They're probably tracking what I'm saying to you right now on this live stream. That is like grabs all the data and connects it all and uses AI to make connections. And there's been some talk about like, what was that? Was it that Tom Cruise movie? Was it Minority Report, where they would like anticipate that someone was going to commit a crime and they would arrest them for it? Like that level of stuff. But anyway, there's all of this data sharing that is occurring between federal agencies, but also private entities. So we've heard a lot about like the IRS is going to start sharing data, and they're going to force Western Union to turn over their data about who's sending money. And we have these automatic license plate readers in all these jurisdictions that are capturing data around the comings and goings of people and just tracking and saving and sharing all of this information about where we go and what we're doing and what we're up to, and connecting it with social media, So like the picture of each of our lives is held by a company that sells it and has contracts with the Department of Defense and other entities around the globe. And that's pretty creepy. Well, in that vein of us living in a surveillance state, TSA is now sharing all traveler data with DHS. And that's why you saw the headlines of that young woman from Boston who was a freshman in college who was flying home to visit her family for Thanksgiving. She checks in, she goes through to TSA, she gets to the gate, and boom, they come and arrest her. That's because TSA is now sharing all traveler data with DHS. So I've had lots of questions from people about, like, is it safe to travel? I think we should assume that 100% of the people who are traveling domestically are being reviewed by DHS. So if you are in the category of folks who is not safe to go to an ICE check-in, go to your court check-in, you're worried about being detained, they've revoked your citizenship oath ceremony because you're on the blocked countries list. All of those categories of people are now not safe to travel domestically. It is not enough, in my opinion, to have a valid work permit or a real ID and travel, because now travel equals review by immigration. I'm sorry to say it. I think it's really, really creepy and gross, but that is the reality that we're living in, and it's better to know it and act accordingly than to be surprised at the airport. So there's your news updates of the week. Let's start getting to your questions, starting with Anna. I haven't seen you here in a while, Anna. It's good to have you back. Excuse me. Can the police ask for someone's legal status on a regular traffic stop? That is such a good question, and it is not an easy answer. I'm trying to decide if I cannot distill this to one word for you. It depends upon the police authority that has stopped you and what their level of immigration enforcement is. Here's an example. Here in Austin, where I live, we have a DPS state trooper might pull you over. They are an agent of the state. The state has a cooperative agreement of the most strong type with ICE, which essentially tells DPS officers they can act as immigration authorities, meaning they can ask people about immigration status. And just this week, for example, DPS and ICE conducted a joint enforcement action where they went down by the airport in Austin, parked a bunch of ICE vehicles behind the Bark and Zoom, sent DPS troopers out on the highways, pulled people over for whatever. And then if they had expired or if they didn't have licenses, they just took them right over to ICE. So DPS definitely can and probably will be asking people about immigration status. Now, you might get pulled over by a sheriff in the county where you live. And in the state of Texas, starting in 2026, the Texas legislature has mandated that every big county, have some type of cooperative agreement with ICE, whether that means they fully enforce immigration laws like DPS has, whether they allow ICE in their jails, or whether they serve warrants for ICE, right? And so the counties are in the process of picking the level that they're going to cooperate, and then entering into those agreements, training their officers, etc. So if you're pulled over by a sheriff, the answer is it really depends upon that agency. Then you could get pulled over by the police authority in your city. Here in Austin, APD does not enforce immigration policy. Their policy is not to ask about immigration unless it is relevant to their investigation, like if they're investigating a human trafficking case. But they're not going to be asking people about status just on a traffic stop. So they're going to ask, if depending upon the agency. You always have the right under the Constitution to not answer. You have the Fifth Amendment right to remain silent under the U.S. Constitution. Whether you exercise that right is up to you, and those moments are strategic decisions. Because, for example, if you're a U.S. citizen, you've been detained by DPS, they want to know your immigration status, and you say, I refuse to answer that question. Are they going to detain you temporarily? Maybe. Can you sue them after that? I don't know. Maybe. It's like you kind of have to think through, what is my status here? What's my level of protection? What is my appetite for resistance? And how am I going to act? And who am I interacting with? It is not a simple and easy decision. I will say yesterday, APD, Austin Police Department, they have a community engagement group called Amigos in Azul. And they did their 20th annual Shop with a Cop event, which was so heartwarming. It was really wonderful. We brought the bus in Fronteras. And so all these kids from different schools got picked up by buses and taken to a Target where there were all these cops and Santa and all this stuff. And each kid got partnered up with a cop, and they got to go shop in Target and get basically whatever they wanted. They had a lot of money. It's $150 gift card to go and shop. And it was so cute to see them. We had girls from Martin Middle School on our bus, children, from Martin Middle School. And these two girls partnered up with this one cop, and they were middle school girls, so they wanted makeup and clothing. They were not interested in the Legos section. And so this cop, they got this very manly cop who was walking around the makeup section with them. And another hilarious thing that happened was I brought my daughter, we were volunteering, and I was not anticipating that my daughter was going to participate. I should have anticipated it because she's 8 and she doesn't understand oh, we get to go shopping with cops. And next thing I know, she's got a cart full of Barbies. And she's doing an interview on KXAN News. So that's my daughter. But we did make a donation to cover all of her purchases. So it was heartwarming. But that event with APD was so needed, for the community in a time of difficulty in immigration enforcement. I mean, I feel for the police who are pro-immigrant and want a good relationship with their community, which frankly is going to be the majority of them, because they are in this position where they want community safety. They want a good relationship. They want kids and victims of crime and witnesses to crime to feel like they are being protected by this police force. That's why people go into policing, most of them. And I think it's really hard. It's really hard when the state forces them to have these agreements, the sheriffs, and then, it really impacts their ability to do their jobs and to have a good relationship with the community. This business of having police enforce immigration is such a bad idea overall from a public safety perspective. And the sheriffs say that, the legislature knew that, and they passed SB 8 demanding cooperation anyway. And this is one of the main reasons I finally decided to run for office. I've been saying for years, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it when people suggest it. And then finally just watching this legislative session and SB 8, despite the fact that the legislature knows that this is a bad idea, they still pass it, and it's just, it must be stopped. So Maria Elena, how long does it take for a lawyer to submit marriage forms for a husband to USCIS? It shouldn't be that long to put together. This was what we call a one-step application, where we have the I-130, the family petition, the 485 is the green card application, the sponsorship info. It's like a lot of paperwork and a lot of documents. And so most of the time, the delay that occurs, if there is a delay, is in the collection of all the documents that we need, because it's frankly a lot. It's one of those annoying life adulting things where you have to get your last 3 tax returns and find everybody's birth certificates and get the marriage certificate and prove valid marriage and all this stuff. And so some of our clients are on it, and they get us everything right away, and we can prepare the forms and file it very quickly. And some of our clients struggle with the documentation. But once we in our firm, once we have everything from the clients, we should be able to get it prepped, reviewed, signed, and submitted very quickly. And that's not what takes a long time. But if you have a follow-up question, Maria Elena, let me know. All right. Next question. I am Mexican, and my late husband and I came to the U.S. without papers. We had our child here. He is now an adult, but I am in an abusive relationship where he has physically and verbally abused me. I would like to know if I can adjust my status because of this situation, or how I can report it. I'm sorry you're in this situation, and I'm glad you're asking this question. So yes, there are protections for victims of domestic violence under immigration laws. The 2 main ones are VAWA and U visa. VAWA is for spouses of U.S. citizens or permanent residents, right? So you have to be married, and your abuser has to have permanent legal status to qualify for VAWA. If those 2 factors exist, even if it's a common law marriage in Texas, we can file an adjustment of status under VAWA, and that is a case that will move more quickly. It should be resolved within a year and a half. You get a work permit. It happens fast. If you are not married, or your abuser is undocumented, and you have suffered domestic violence, you could still qualify for a U visa, which is a crime victims visa. And it requires that you make a police report, that you report the crime to the police, and that they certify that you are a victim of a crime. So there's definitely still an option if you are in an abusive relationship, but you do have to report the crime. So with VAWA, your abuser has to have permanent legal status, and you have to be married. With the U visa, you don't have to be married, and your abuser can be undocumented, but you have to file a police report. Okay, those are the major differences. And then the U visa takes longer. We're getting work permits within about a year and a half on the U visa, but the whole excuse me, the whole process takes longer under the U visa than under the VAWA. And I'll just say it again. In Texas, we have common law marriage. You do not have to have an official wedding to be legally married in Texas, but you do have to live together, and you have to hold yourselves out as husband and wife. So post on social about being married, file your tax returns together, have kids. There's a lot of ways that you can prove common law marriage for a VAWA case in Texas. Impeshal Isaac, free consultations. Yes. Yes, we're still doing free consultations. The number one thing I think people need right now is legal advice in the immigrant community. And so we are going to be doing free consultations. I mean, I don't know exactly when we're going to end it, but not anytime soon. It's still a need. So DM me if you need a consultation. We have capacity to do about 20 consultations in our office each day. But we also have more capacity to do virtual consultations. So if you're not in the Austin area, we can still provide a consultation to you virtually. All you need to do is DM me. We are booking right now only about 2 days out. So you can still get a consultation quickly if you need one. So yeah. Yes. Free consultations still occurring. I'll take this moment to remind you guys that we have a program called Peace of Mind Program. A lot of people say, well, I can't get in a relationship with a lawyer because I can't get legal status right now. Like, I've consulted with a lawyer and they told me I can't get legal status. And we hear that a lot, but also we do detained cases. And so we see what it looks like on the back end when somebody gets picked up and they don't have a relationship with a lawyer, and we're scrambling because we don't know where the important documents are. We don't even know what the family wants, right? In this situation, do we want to stay and fight? Do we all want to go to home together? Like, what do we want to do? These are things that have not been contemplated when we don't already have a relationship. So for that reason, we have a program called Peace of Mind that allows someone to become our client, even if you can't get legal status. And what we do is we do a strategy session with a lawyer. We do a safety planning packet with you. We collect your important documents so we have them at the ready. We give you a letter of representation so that you can carry that around with you. And we give you a special phone number to call in case something happens. So it's a way that you can have a formed relationship with our law firm, even if you can't get legal status, that can help protect you. So let me know if, even if you think, oh, I'm undocumented and I can't get legal status, why would I reach out for a consultation? That's why. Liana, how long is the wait to apply for citizenship? I don't have my phone on me to double check it right now. Oh, yeah, it's right there. Let me check the processing time on citizenship cases. I want to say it's just under a year, but I can confirm this. So the way you do this, guys, is you Google USCIS processing times, and it's going to take you to their website. It says case processing times, and then you pick your form. So the form for citizenship is the N400, and then you pick your field office because these get processed at the field office. So I'm in Central Texas, so I'm going to choose San Antonio. Get processing time 8 months. Fast. Meaning, if you file right now, guess what you'll get to do? Vote in the midterms. Okay? So, but like now, right? Because you have to register to vote sometime in October. So do it. Okay, Alejandra. Yes, we are doing habeas cases. We are filing habeas lawsuits in federal court to get people out of detention. So if you know somebody who needs habeas, feel free to reach out. All right, let's give you the action items of the week, guys, because we need to be more civically engaged as ever. Tonight, we have a volunteer event for my campaign, KLG for Texas, at Bolden Acres on Breaker from 6 to 8 p.m. It's a meet and greet, get to know the crew, start talking about what we're going to do as volunteers. Come on down. Come hang out with us. And then Thursday morning, we're doing this show, but we're doing it on location at a place called Entre Panas. It's a Venezuelan food park off Gaddis School Road in Round Rock. And they apparently have really good everything. So we'll be there Thursday morning doing the live show. We'll be there with the Busting Fronteras. We'll be offering free legal consultations. I'll be there, obviously, doing the show. And there you have it. So come see us tonight. Come see us Thursday morning. And I appreciate you guys for being here with me on this journey. We'll see you Thursday. Bye.